Welcome everyone to another day of Clash Royale League Asia. My name is Joseph. You're joining with me is Simon. We're back for another day of Clash Royale goodness here in the Asia region. We've gone through 2 days where we have gone through Southeast Asia and a bit of Korea yesterday. We're here today for the Japan region to round things off for the week.
Yeah, I'm super excited to watch some Japanese Clash Royale. Like, I watched SEA, I watched Korea a lot, actually. I watched Korea a lot. But I want to see how the Japanese meta is different, because Japanese players I play on ladder always have something different to show.
Right. And it's always has been contrasting to see the different regions and how they understand the game of Clash Royale. We even saw the 2 comparisons when we talked about SEA versus Korea. Already a big difference there where we saw the Southeast Asian regions really just go all or nothing, just put heavy metals in the deck and hoping that it works out, and the one that comes out on top is the victor. But really, Korea has been a game about inches, just playing the minuscule differences that decide the winner at the end.
Alright, so as we can see the teams on the screen, we have the Korean region, the Japanese region, and the Southeast Asian region. We have OGN, Entus, OPGG, Sandbox, Kingzone in Korea. We have Kix, Chaos Theory, Bren, AHQ in Southeast Asia. And today we are going to watch GameWith, PONOS Esports, Fav Gaming, and Destination Gaming.
The 4 teams that we will be seeing for the very first time in this tournament. It's going to be showing us what the Japanese teams are made of. Very young talents that we're just awaiting to see in any minute now, and to see what the Japan region, what is their take on Clash Royale. That's going to be the answer we're going to be finding out in a minute here.
Alright, so just a quick explanation. We're going to have the pennant race, which is going to start with the regionals. It's Korea versus Korea, Japan versus Japan, Southeast Asia for 2 weeks. And then after that, every region is going to play each other. After that, we go into the wild card, semi-playoff, playoff, and the penultimate game, well, the ultimate game, the final.
Right, and gonna have 2 weeks of regionals. So when we did have that rotation between Southeast Asia, Korea, and Japan in that order this week, it will happen again next week in that same rotation before we do get off to the conference division. As you can see in the pennant race there, it's gonna be a home and away format, so teams will be flying all over to get to 3 respective regions before we get the final teams that will play in the finals.
Yeah, that's a lot of air miles they're going to be picking up this time round. Like, that's some serious travel from Taiwan or wherever they are in Southeast Asia, actually, because they're flying from, like, Philippines and stuff like that there. So, oh, wait, let's talk about the rules. First, we have the ban. So, each team can ban 1 card per set. Yeah, per set. So that's a global ban, so any deck that features it, you cannot use. And we saw that a lot yesterday, where players know what card the other player likes, and they just ban it straight out.
Exactly. We talked about Expo Master. Literally, the Expo being banned out was the most conventional way of applying that rule. So 1v1, 2v2, and if we do get an ace match, there will be 1 ban each from each team. So can be a total of 2 bans if the 2 players do not pick the same cards.
Yeah, and each team does have a timeout, so they do get 3 minutes after the bans. They get 1 minute between games, but they can also call a timeout, which gives them an extra minute.
Extra
2 minutes, right? Extra 2 minutes to tinker with their deck.
So that will be extra time. If you feel like you need it, you can use it once during an entire match between 2 teams. So we're going to see GameWith and PONOS Sports, and 1 team can make 1 timeout. So we could see a total of 2 timeouts if the team definitely feels like they need it. We've had games where neither team did call a timeout and felt like they didn't need it as much. So definitely up to the team's decision to get that part. And we're going to look at today's matchup here. GameWith versus PONOS Sports to begin us off, and Fav Gaming will be up against Destination Gaming for the 2nd match of today's series. And last one, we're going to get GameWith back again against Fav Gaming to close out the day. So get a new look of these Japanese players and this Japanese team and see what their take on it is. It's going to be interesting thing to find out here.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to watching. I think it was GameWith, actually. GameWith, they look super young.
Yeah.
They don't have, like, I think their actual clan kind of Clash Royale history isn't that strong compared to the other teams. But we've seen in the Korean division and the SA division that doesn't actually make a difference. Experience doesn't mean as much as pure skill at this stage.
Sure. And we haven't seen a single player born before 2000 from this GameWith team. So you talk about youngsters right there, and that is the pinnacle of youngsters we can get in Clash Royale. So composed of definitely younger players compared to different titles we've had in the past. So a lot of young talents with a lot of good physicality, a lot of good mechanics, and got a good reaction time that you can only get with the younger age. We all know about that. And
well, I know about the older generation. Like I'm one of the older people, but it's worth noting that young people don't seem to have the same hesitations as the older players. Like we've seen yesterday where the older players would play a lot more reserved and the younger players would throw something out that you wouldn't expect. And they just go for the throat, and it really does show in their games that they're just, I need to win this, I want to win this, and they're not looking like, oh, I need to save face or anything like that. And
it's absolutely just mechanic in the way they pull off the strats, right? It's just about not really mixing in emotions in the plays that you're trying to just have, but you putting in, if it's literally 1+1, they know how to answer that is going to be 2, but they don't have to think about it because they're so young and so fresh in the way they react to different situations. So it's really interesting to see how the players from Japan will pull off the plays today. But you know, a lot of questions up in the air, obviously, you know, to see Japan for the very first time. Of course, we'll see them on the longer run as we do have months and months of Clash Royale in Asia tournament. A lot of takes on it. You know, what are your your expectations going forward?
I'm expecting similar kind of gameplay mechanics to the Korean style, where it's a lot of chip gaming. But honestly, at the moment, I know nothing about this Japanese region. Like, even researching, it's really hard to find stuff because my keyboard doesn't type in Japanese, so I can't search the players, you know? But yeah, I'm super excited. I'm expecting to see a lot of miners and poisons again.
Of course, yeah. Poison has been the big story just overall, and even the graveyard mixed in there just to get that really just the immunity that really just keeps your opponent out of bay. We have seen a lot of unique picks and a lot of patterns when it comes to the 1v1 and 2v2, 2v2 full of golems, obviously. It has been all about the golems and really no other investment other than that. And we've seen rages from time to time coming from 2v2 as well. Now that we have this as a official format in the competitive scenes, really has been interesting to just kind of observe and kind of follow in the path of, you know, what we're going to be seeing for the future.
Yesterday's 2v2, we had this crazy powerful push with golems, double princes, and rage, and balloon on top. And it just, you saw a tower, it disappeared almost instantly. It was insane pushes.
And just an absolute 100-0 we were watching there from that push. But we could see a lot more different things because it just seemed like 1v1, you can calculate the defensive strats and you can kind of react to different offensive situations as well. But we saw in 2v2, it's just like all in and everything just goes out in a single minute. You just have to make sure you do that same thing on the other end so you get the counter, so you get even in towers. But a lot of craziness in 2v2. Definitely not used to it yet, but we're slowly starting to get there.
Yeah, 2v2 has the problem that you can't really look at elixir usage because you're not sure which player plays what, so you're just kind of going in blind.
It really is. We're going to look at the team profile for our first team here, GameWith. Going to compose Amaterasu and YUIHIIRO, KK, and Shun here. So 4 players with about a 6K average trophies.
That's really high compared to what we've seen in other regions. Like Japan, Korea's average was usually about 5,500. Yeah.
And we've seen a lot of people below that 5K mark as well, kind of saying the fact that they've been using different decks and using different experimental picks that obviously cost them a little bit trophy here, and they're playing in that top tier ranking. So it seems like the Japanese scene, at least for GameWith, as we're seeing now, has been all about trophies, and 6.4K, not too shabby in pulling yourself, getting that title as a professional player. Not bad here as well. PONOS Sports, we already see a 6.6K with mikan bouya, along with Fuchi, tengod, and Raiki Jones as well. Just everything about what we're seeing from PONOS Sports and GameWith, to be frank with you, it's like trophies are really up there for these guys in Japan.
Yeah, I mean, maybe this shows that they put a lot more focus on the 1v1 aspect and not the 2v2 aspect, so we might see a completely different style of 2v2. But the high trophy count means they focus only 1v1, so we might see today that every game goes to an ace match because the players are going to be super strong.
And it also shows you that maybe experimental strats aren't really big of a thing over there, where, when you have to try out different cards depending on the meta, and maybe some of these cards that you aren't used to as much. you could drop in the trophy, and that is an understandable thing, at least here in Korea. But when you have such trophy count, such high trophy count for all of these teams here, it goes to show you it's either one or two things, that they only play the decks they feel comfortable with, they just play the cards they know, and they maneuver around it to get and collect the trophies, or they can play all these different cards and still be able to win out all the 1v1s in there in front of them. So if it becomes the latter, that will be a highly impressive thing to really observe here.
Yeah, and I forgot what I was going to say. Yeah, it's really hard. Like, as soon as you change a deck, you change one card or two cards, you've lost the rhythm that you had with the old deck. And you do notice that you'll drop like 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 trophies. Like, you just keep going down and down and down. Suddenly you're down an arena and you're like, what am I doing with my life? And then you change it back, but it doesn't matter. You still have to get back used to it.
Okay, we're going to get the first game. It's going to be decided between Shun and Fuchi. Look how young this kid looks on the left. Shun, look at... He is 12, by the way. I mean...
He looks 12, but he's actually, like, what, 17?
17. You're kidding me over there. That is absolutely a youngster playing in this competitive level. Just goes to show you that this audience is open for all ages. And if you want to be a competitive Clash Royale player, age is definitely not a restriction, it seems.
Yeah, and it's also worth noting that all the tournament level cards, they're standardized throughout. Whenever you play a tournament, it's the same levels for both players. So, like, whatever happens in your ladder games, it doesn't matter. Here, everything is equal.
And we're going to see, the ladder games to the competitive maximum level. It's going to be what we're seeing here today with today's Japan premiere of our Clash Royale League Asia. We have a lot of games to play today. Obviously, we have to get through, 6 different teams. Obviously, 4 of them being the same thing. Gonna look at selecting the ban cards to see, what our first implications are gonna be for the first set of 1v1.
Yeah, the ban card usually reveals a lot about the decks that the player is gonna play. It's not just what they think the opponent is gonna do. You might want to ban something out that hard counters your deck. So if you're gonna play the crossbow, you want to ban out the golem.
All right.
As you found out before we started when we were playing some 1v1s.
You showed me the hard way on that one, Simon. Saying you have to beat me 3 times for me to be a believer. And here we are once again to really look at the ban cards. And as you do say, Simon, it's been about multiple things about, do you know so much about your opponent that you know exactly what to ban? But it also can be a thing where you just want to ban out the hard counters. Obviously, poison, it's been a lot of difficulty for a lot of people, and poison being banned out hasn't been much common, especially over in the Korean leagues, but we see the elixir collector being banned on the other side. So maybe restricting all the high golden plays or even the lava hounds, kind of the big elixir cards, maybe just restricting out from the get-go.
Yeah, banning elixir collector soft bans a lot of cards, as you said, like golem. 3 Musketeers is really difficult to play without it. But poison ban, you're just removing that card. You can replace it with something like freeze. You can replace it with something like zap, or there's a lot of things you can put in there. Graveyard as well also works really, really well instead of poison. So it's going to be interesting to see what kind of decks they pull out. I'm going to guess there's going to be quite a bit of rush decks here.
Sure.
Especially with the elixir collector. I can't see the super slow pushes.
Yeah, I think we're going to get that once we do have the 3 minutes for these 2 players, Shun and Fuchi, to select their decks here. They do get their help from their teammates to make sure they get the most optimal deck for this very first matchup. Of course, the decks can be switched around, game after game, but onto this game 1, they're going to make sure they select it in the best of prowess and to make sure they are completely ready to face their opponents in game 1.
Yeah, I wonder how many decks they have to change when they lose Elixir Collector or Poison here. Like, Fuchi definitely looked like he doesn't have too much to change. As we can see here, Shun's favorite card is the Lava Hound, right?
Yeah.
And that is just a very heavy Elixir card, especially when you throw it with a balloon as well. That Elixir ban, that kind of wipes out the Lava Hound.
It really is, and Lava Hound will not be much of an option if you want to play the Lava Hound without the Elixir, because, I mean, being my guess, but it just becomes extra difficult to really pull that off the way you initially would have if you had the Elixir Collector in hand. So that means that strategizing will be a little more difficult, as we do see the Executioner being the favorite card of Fuchi. So not really affected by the Elixir Collector, obviously, with the 5 Elixir summoned there. Obviously, a Poison can be a little bit difficult when you're talking about the way you want to wipe out the likes of the minions and all these little shabby cards that you want to just stand out. Executioner take care of it, and Poison kind of serves that similar purpose, so I think he can still put out the Executioner and make it work here.
Yeah, none of the bans really seem to affect him. The execution is really light, and he does so much damage, especially with tornadoes. We saw a lot of tornado bans in SCA, right? Yeah,
we did, and we saw it mostly in 2v2 when, you know, if they felt like the tornado could wipe out literally 10, 12 cards all at once, and just felt like it wasn't going to be the one to go. But not many 1v1s, even in the Southeast Asia regions where they do like to play really heavy card. But we saw Shun here, kind of favoring the Lava Hound. Gonna be one of the favorites to look at these really heavy cards to go with. But without the Lex Collector, wonder what his deck's going to be. We're going to find out just about 20 seconds here.
Yeah, so what would you be thinking if you were these players right now? Like, what would be going through your head before this game? What would you be saying to your colleagues? What would you be doing?
At the same time, just think Poison being banned out, I don't think it affects Fuchi quite that much. I mean, it seems like he's a lightweight kind of guy where he doesn't like to go with the super heavy cards, and just like Poison ban shouldn't affect him too much. I think it was more of, you know, I think Shun didn't want him to use the Poison more than anything. And just to make sure that he's trying to bring out all these little fabs to go forward and march through. And without the Poison, it just makes it a little bit easier. But you said there are a couple of substitutes to that card.
Yeah, and we could see, even without the Elixir Collector, we could still see the classic Golem Night Witch. You don't need the Elixir Collector there to make it strong. You can just throw out the Golem, wait a little bit, throw out the Night Witch, and that push is huge. And if you have Poison, it kills the bats instantly. But by banning the Poison, maybe that's what he's planning to go for here.
Could be, and you know, Lava Hound and Golem works very similarly when you know how to play it correctly. Very slow, mobile character that can push forward with a lot of support coming from behind. If that's what he's thinking over there, Shun, we could see very likable situations when it comes to his selection. I think the card selection time is starting running to a close, and we think we'll be ready to go into game one here. Getting ready to see reveal one card at a time for both of these players. See what they're trying to go for here.
Yeah, so we have Shun and GameWith in blue, and we have Fuchi with PONOS in the red at the top of the screen. Dart Golem, I haven't seen much of actually, and there's a log just to wipe it out instantly. But I didn't see much Dart Golem in the last few days.
I think the Dart Goblin has been recently buffed, and the damage itself seems like multiple high-tier players are trying to experiment. I wouldn't say be staple with that pick because it's such an really an uncommon strategy when you're going with it. But a Barbarian HUD, so kind of the most least common of the HUDs that we know.
Yeah, the Golem HUD and the Tombstone are really popular, but the Barbarian HUD, usually it seems a little bit too slow for decks at this level, so we don't see it that much, but it can be powerful if you can build up a decent front, and there is the battering ram.
Yeah, so it's going to push up the Knights just a little bit. That will be the Barbarian.
That was a good Ice Spirit there, and then the Goblin Gang coming in. He still connects, but doesn't do that much damage because he didn't have the charge damage.
You're really looking for the after damage with the battle ram to make sure the Barbarians that come off it does a little additional damage. That didn't happen there. Obviously, the Spear Goblins are having a tougher time breaking through these Barbarians being summoned from the HUD. The Infernal Towers taking control of most of these incoming Barbarians, but on the offensive end, Fuchi seems to have a little bit of struggle already.
Yeah, it's worth noting as well that by the time this Inferno Tower goes down, another Inferno Tower probably will be in the rotation. So he's going to have one to come up if he needs it, and I don't think he does at this point.
Looking at the left side of the map where the Goblin Barrel was thrown to try to get some chip damage, but the darts putting in a lot of work.
Yeah, it's really even right now. There's not much between the two. If you had to say, I think Fuchi has a little bit of an advantage, but it's not that high. Like, these two players are incredibly close. There's the Ice Golem and the Mega Minion, and then 3 Musketeers, playing 3 Musketeers without, and there's a Rocket. That's going to finish them off instantly.
Yeah, that's going to be the 6 Elixir in trade for a lot of the Musketeers that
that's a big push on the right for Shun, even with that Prince there.
Just slowing them down with the log there, does not get the ram in, but the Barbarians are free to move about. They do get a few hits. Another hit to just before it goes down.
But is it enough? Like, we're going to go down into overtime soon, and it's hard to tell who has the better push. There's another 3M. Is there enough to defend for Fuchi here.
I don't think a rocket will be optimal here this time around, just trying to defend out with the small creeps as much as they can. The battle ram is just trying to get one more hit on. Ice Spirit does a good job of slowing it down.
Doesn't quite reach the tower again, and that's the story of Shun's battering rams. They always seem to just fall short. Does he have enough to defend?
You can definitely tell he's putting a lot of pressure from the Barbarian side. He's moving with the guards, and really not much time for Fuchi to put in a counterattack when so much pressure is being put by Shun.
Yeah, we're now into overtime. We have 2.5 minutes of overtime left. Next tower does take the victory.
Princess not even white from behind. There's two Princess standing in the back. Marching out and just turreting all the attempts coming in from Shun.
Good luck there to take out that Dark Goblin, but that's a big push. 2 Barbarians, 3 Elites. But I think the 2 Princesses, yeah, 2 Princesses just make short work of nearly everything.
It really does, and there's not really much of a way for Shun to get rid of those 2 Princesses. Oh, really nice rocket coming there, not wiping at 9 elixirs worth. 3 Musketeers there. Goblin is going to be coming through the barrels. Is he going to get enough damage though?
It doesn't look like there's going to be enough damage to finish it off this time, but that tower is incredibly low. It is going to fall really, really soon, I think.
For being in the overtime, you have to go all in on one side. That has been the story of Fuchi right now. He's just trying to get the Goblin barrels at the right position to make sure they move forward with this.
Yeah, Shun put a lot onto that right-hand lane. Yeah. Wasn't to try and take the tower, it's to try and take pressure off his bottom left-hand side.
Okay, so very good job of guards holding out. The Goblins coming from the barrels. Goblin gangs being summoned again.
Musketeers now have the tower though. That's going to deal so much damage.
Okay, so the left side was finished in a touch where, you know, we've seen him handle the 3 Musketeers from Rocket and from the various aspects, but that time he left it alone, tried to go for the counterattack late, and we saw him being punished there by the 3 Musketeers going unscathed there.
Yeah, the 3 Musketeers were on the right-hand side. The other stuff was on the left, but the problem is if you just leave those 3 Musketeers alone, it is going to take that tower really, really quickly. But so you're splitting the defenses, but there was enough on the left-hand side to just go through and take the tower.
You know, splitting 2 to 1 there from the left to the right, and that was good enough for Shun. Definitely a person that we feel like likes to play the big cards. We saw him just there in the first game playing the 3 Musketeers. That was the main part of his story. And the Barbarian, we thought it was a little bit of a trick going into from our expectations of this guy, but showed that pressure's on is what he's trying to do with Shun. Just try to move on left and right, give all the defense, all the pressure to defend out both sides to make sure you're not attacking from the other end. Seems like Shun gets the story that he wanted at the first game. He just wants to continue on here.
Yeah, I gotta ask you, at this point, would you change your deck if you were Shun, or would you keep it the same?
I just feel like, you know, Shun, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, and it just feels like the other end should be the one to make a repair to make sure they can compensate for all these heavy damage coming in from both sides. You just gotta be able to concentrate there. It just seems like Shun is that type of guy who likes to play heavy, and just when you have a core characteristic like that, it's just a little bit tougher to change, but it is a little bit easier to react when you're on the other side.
See, if I was Shun, I would change my deck because my opponent knows that I used the heavy deck last time. So maybe I should use a different deck this time to counter the counter of that deck.
Sure, a lot of mind games that could be involved here, but we're going to find out once we do get onto game 2. First one did go over to Shun, coming from GameWith, but a lot of youngsters in this roster, and the youngest of them being Shun. Starting us off here. It seems like game 2 will be underway very, very soon here.
Yeah, we should be going just into game now. I can hear the sound effects below the graphic. Here we go. Shun again in the blue with GameWith, and Fuchi, PONOS Sports in red at the top of the screen.
Gonna stay at full elixir for now. Skeleton Barrel is gonna be the first one being played. Baby Dragon been the one to set up for the counter.
Baby Dragon is a very good counter to Skeleton Balloon. Very good counter.
Even the landing skeletons will have a tough time there. Okay, we're going to see another dragon with the Inferno this time around just to compensate for the Valkyrie there.
Yeah, really good switch here from Shun. Fuchi, if he was prepared for a super heavy deck, he's not getting it this time. There's a Night Witch.
Okay, we might be able to see a Golem if that's the ultimate partnership.
Ooh, good Wizard. Rocket there, taking out that Wizard, but there's nothing in front to support this Night Witch. Usually you want to try and put something heavy in front to take all the damage because she is very, very squishy.
Hey, it wasn't really summoned to really specifically counter anything. It was just summoned at the back of the King's Tower, hoping that it would compensate doing something, but guards are going to be summoned for the time being.
And there's another skeleton balloon.
He does have a baby dragon to compensate. He does get it in time. Get the landing skeletons as well, no problem there.
But Valkyrie is going to make super light work of these elite guards. And again, Dark Goblin will make light work of the baby dragon if that lug is
he does
just
barely
in range.
Yep, and the Valkyrie mostly likely is slowing down the baby dragon from doing any damage to the Princess Tower, but I see a rocket coming through. Gonna trade 5 for 6 on that one.
That seems a bit of an uneven trade, I think. Rocket in the hut.
It's a bit overkill, I would have to agree, because you know you're losing 1 elixir. You're not doing any damage to the tower even, so you're just losing out 1 elixir in a trade where you felt like you could have done it a little bit better as a substitute, but maybe that was his plan that didn't want to go with on here.
Yeah, I mean, this is not looking good for Shun, but Fuchi's attack seems quite weak. Oh, there is the golem finally.
Yeah, we thought we would see this, obviously, with the Night Witch in his deck. Kind of showed us something. Ever since the golem was summoned, the skeleton barrel is going to be hovered up here, knowing that there's not going to be much counters to this deck here.
Yeah, this is really dangerous for Shun. He has to be able to withstand the pressure whilst that golem Night Witch goes forward, but the Inferno Dragon Fireball comes in, but it's not going to be enough.
Okay, the Inferno Dragon was summoned just to the left of the Electro Wizard that got him out of range. Kept this increasing damage going. Golem splits into 2, is going to get 1 each onto different towers here.
Yeah, that's not good when the golems split like that. You kind of want both golems to go down exactly the same route.
Oh, another loss of elixir there by Trina. He just feels like he doesn't have a great answer to the Goblin Hut. Willing to lose the elixir for it, but
he's struggling right now. That tower is going down, I think. 1,900. That miner is going to deal so much damage.
The miner really can't be stopped until it gets down to 775. The Golem's going to be summoned for a last effort here. This definitely will be a hit or miss coming from Shun. If this does not work out, I can imagine Fuchi being very happy to wipe out the rest of the base here.
Whatever Fuchi puts in front of this push, anything that survives is going to take that tower. Night Witch takes so much damage there.
And the Fireball even just doing so much damage to multiple units here. Infernal Dragon Summon on the left side. So that's an interesting spectacle to look at here.
Yeah, I think he was expecting the Golem to start moving towards that hut.
Oh no, he literally rocketed at nothing.
No, he hit the tower, I think, but the tower was the hut was already down.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I think he was.
Tower's so in trouble now. The miner still 500 HP.
But look at this. This is definitely a game where Fuchi feels a lot better for his efforts here. But the Electro Wizard really counting a lot of cards here for Shun, and both of the dragons really not able to do much. Last golem effort, as I did say last time around, this is really going to be the last golem when this one fails. 298 on the board. The miner would be able to finish him off. Even the Dark Goblin at the end trying to put this damage going through.
I don't know what is going to come here for Shun, but everything is so far forward. A miner in the back will finish this game.
Okay, I see the miner being summoned. Your guard summoned reactively right away, so gotta get it for now.
Just not enough, and the golems and the bats are on that tower. There's the tornado.
Whoa, my goodness! The Inferno Tower on the left.
Again with the distraction on the right-hand side. I was looking at the golems and everything there. I did not notice that Inferno Dragon on the left-hand side.
Us being distracted, you have to imagine the player was distracted as well. So much attention going to the right side of the map, and you had to look at, what was going through his head when you tried to get the golem. We thought he had the clear counter and exactly knew what he wanted to do there, but couldn't compensate for the multiple attempts that Shun had out. So this heavy favoring card, heavy favoring player we know as Shun now. We saw him do it with the 3 Musketeers in game 1. We see him finish off in a 2-0 format with the Golem deck the second time around.
So strong. I mean, using the golems there as a distraction, that's a high-risk play. That's 8 elixir you have tied up there.
Exactly.
And then he threw the Inferno Dragon on the left-hand side. Like, I didn't notice it. Did you notice it?
I think it was traveling to the middle at first and went for the Goblin Hut. Then it traveled a little bit to the left at the end. That's something I have to imagine, but I really know. I haven't really seen the details of how the Inferno Dragon got there in the first place, just beyond me.
Yeah, I didn't see it at all. The Lightning Wizard, I don't know where he was. Where was Electro Wizard?
Electro Wizard on the right side of the map, so it was targeting away from the Inferno Dragon. It was mostly targeting the Baby Dragon more than anything, but you know, interesting game. I can't wait to see the replay. We'll get that in after we do get some time to rest here, but for the time being, very nice showing by Shun and the entire team of GameWith really putting the numbers onto PONOS Sports right now.
Yeah, I think even if Fuchi, even if Fuchi defended that right-hand side, the left-hand side, the right-hand side.
Oh, it would have been definitely would have been.
It was such a strong push on both fronts that it just walked in, took everything out, and honestly, I need to watch that replay back again.
We're gonna be on for that. Once we get a couple of minutes to finish off the 2v2 that we're preparing for now, I'm sure we'll get a time and opportunity to look at that. I'm sure the Twitch viewers and the YouTube viewers, I'm sure they were there to watch it as we missed it. So it's really gonna be interesting to see. You know, Shun obviously did won, but how he won that one is gonna be the one to look at later on. But 2v2 is getting underway between these two teams after Shun did get a very dominating 2-0 victory in that 1v1 phase in a very heavy card favored decks that he did use. We're gonna see if 2v2 brings us a similar story here.
Yeah, 2v2 we're gonna have Amaterasu and YUIHIIRO?
Yeah, YUIHIIRO.
Sorry, my pronunciation in Japanese is awful. For GameWith, and for PONOS, we're going to have mikan, bouya, and tengod.
Yeah.
Very young players. Let's just take a look. Tengod has won a lot of stuff, actually. He's been the friendly match for the Japan team. He was the Crown Championship Japan finalist. Mikan Bouya was also a finalist in the Crown Championship Japan final.
So very decorated duo of players they have over at PONOS Sports, but just goes to show you that, you know, these very young players, 1999 born for Tengod and 1996 born for mikan, bouya, shows you that, you know, these guys have been in the scene for quite a while and have kind of shown the experience of learning to play competitively and being under that pressure to do well. So in a situation where these two players really have to do well and bring their team back into the game, because if they lose this 2v2, it's going to be over for PONOS Sports for this very first series.
Yeah. All right. So what do we think is going to be banned in 2v2? I think Tornado.
Tornado is for sure. At least one of the teams going to, if not two, it's been the pattern for the entire time. When you want to bring multiple cards into play onto single side, and you want to do that all in, Tornado's are really the biggest counter you can get on that one.
That's true. Tornado is an incredibly strong card, especially when you chain it properly. Like we saw yesterday, one of the teams didn't chain it properly. They threw both down at the same time, and that's not how you want it to be. Tornado can keep giant skeletons away. It can keep golems away. It can keep everything off your tower, which is so strong in 2v2.
And we know that 2v2 can be quite chaotic, as we've seen in the past few days. It's been about, you know, how they can coordinate, how they can communicate with each other to make sure the entire deck is stacked for the entire all-in play we have seen time after time from multiple regions. Now, we're on to Japan. We're kind of getting a sense of what we can expect from these players, but Tornado, once again, my prediction does come correct on both sides.
Yeah, double Tornado ban. At some point, someone's got to think, like, the other team is going to ban Tornado, and then what happens is no Tornadoes.
Just in case.
Just in case.
There we go. And Tornado ban coming both sides. What do you think of that one?
It's been pretty standard in the tournament. Like we've seen it quite a few times where Tornado is banned on both sides, but it opens up every other 2v2 possibility. Like we can see golems, we can see giants, we could see something crazy like a bomb tower. Like I mean, I've never seen a bomb tower in competitive play, but we might see it today.
And just like everything is on the line when you have 16 cards to choose from. Although you can get duplicates of the same card. We've seen double Dark Princes. That has been a thing. But just mostly about, you know, how the two players with the 16 choice of selections they can choose from. What are they going to go with now that the Tornado is the only excluded card from the choice?
I think we're going to see a balloon. In all honesty, I think we can definitely see a balloon.
At least on one side.
Yeah. Lava Hound?
I think Golem for sure. I think it has been mostly about Golem, just pushing that to the furthest range. And I think, you know, although it's not the heaviest card, obviously 3 Musketeer with that 9 elixir can be the most optimal when it comes to just the amount of weight you can put on the elixir. But that 8 elixir Golem, it seems to be everyone's favorite choice when you just push everything behind it and just trying to make sure that can survive for the longest time being, since even after being broken up, it breaks up into two and it just buys you more time for the backline to do more damage.
Also, you can put your two princes behind and push it forward a little bit faster, and then if there is anything, like, you want to try and use skeletons, right? Some small, lots of hits against the golems. Dark Prince just wipes the floor with it.
It just becomes very tricky to play really small cards in this 2v2 just for the fact that, you know, everything is pushing onto the one side. Whenever you can do that, you really don't stand a chance when you summon like 3 skeletons out with 1 elixir. It just doesn't survive for very long.
Yeah, you need big hitters against big hitters.
There you go.
Inferno Dragon definitely could be a good defensive tool. Inferno Tower is actually a pretty good defensive tool to pull away that golem. I
just really think that Inferno Tower has been underused in 2v2 more than I think it's a little more viable. Inferno Dragons have been seen more often than not, obviously. They want to be a little bit mobile, a little bit flexible in the way the dragon can move around to get multiple targets. But I do see your point, especially with the golem, where it does double duty of knocking down the golem from range. And really, you can get increasing damage over time. But he also does the purpose of pulling it in and really not just kind of looting it away from your towers to get minimal damage.
Yeah, that's super important to pull it away from the towers, but I can see why they don't use it. It is quite tricky to make sure that it hits the golem. Inferno Dragon, you can drop it roughly in the right place so that it targets instantly. But the Inferno Tower, you never know if that Dark Prince is going to walk around the side of the golem, get the aggro from the Inferno Tower, and then suddenly that golem starts hitting it, it's dead.
Yeah. And there's a larger margin of error for the Infernal Tower when you just place it a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right. Just a little bit of misplacement by a matter of inches could make all the difference between it being completely ineffective 5 elixir summon.
Yeah, all these guys, their favorite cards are pretty heavy cards, except for the princess.
Yeah, obviously.
I think it was Mikan who likes the princess, but everyone else is like Lava Hound, Golem, Giant. Those are 3 giant bodies that you just put everything else behind, and you can create this kind of death ball where anything your opponent tries to put in just instantly gets vaporized.
And it just seems like the trend has kind of moved towards everybody liking the heavy decks and everybody liking the heavy cards. I just thought it was a Southeast Asian thing where, you know, they like to be wild, they like to be aggressive, they want to attack every single time. And we've seen a little bit of that in Korea. Some of the Korean players really like the heavy decks, and something that wasn't characteristic, I thought, in the past with the way the Koreans approach the kind of the gaming style of any game, really. And in Clash Royale, you would think that the chip damage and the little bit of usage, kind of smart plays rotating around the little different cards would be the output. But you already see in Japan that even coming from Shun in that 1v1, that heavy decks seem to be favored of many people now.
Yeah, and let's start with this game. GameWith Amaterasu+YUIHIIRO in the blue on the bottom, and we have tengod+mikan bouya in red for PONOS Sports.
Lava Hound summon right away. The Dark Goblin has been seen multiple times today. He's got to get in turret range, so not much damage done. Don't think he was intending that one.
Yeah, we could have had that on the defense, which would have taken out pretty much the Inferno Dragon and a lot of the Lava Hound, but Bats used here to take out that Inferno Dragon, and then it's going to lock on. Oh, it doesn't even get a chance to lock on. This golem is going straight for that Tombstone.
Okay, the Tombstone will be knocked off in a minute here. Dark Goblin still doing a lot of work from behind. The Miner's going to be here just to finish off the Dark Goblin before it does anything. But still very high effective. Poison there, knocking on both the Dark Goblin and the Inferno Dragon.
Yeah, the Flying Machine on defense seems to be working in 2v2. It's not so good in 1v1, but in 2v2, it's doing a really good job of just taking things out from the back. And then, even if it takes everything out of the back, you still have that body going forward, which is super useful.
There you go, the Prince being countered by the guards here. And the shield's knocked away. Easy pickings for these guys, but Lava Hound and Golem being summoned instantaneously at the same time for both sides here.
Yeah, both teams want to start their big pushes behind here. There is the Inferno Dragon for PONOS.
Yeah.
There's the Inferno Dragon for GameWith. Now, it's going to be interesting to see who hits what. The Inferno Dragon's going for the bats first and then goes for the Golem. Good lightning spell there.
So we saw the zap coming through, followed by the lightning, showed that they're really composed on finishing up the Infernal Dragon.
The Miner went too far back. If you didn't notice that, the Miner went right up to that top left-hand corner instead of on the tower. But this Golem connects And he's dealing so much damage.
And really just that minor, that loss of 3 elixir itself seemed like the difference there. Putting the golem into play. Gonna be a lot of trying to efforts. Make sure this lands perfectly. Prince, it seems like he almost got the heat. The second Prince gets the one job done. A second knock, a third knock will get the
so much damage.
Do a lot of damage to the King's Tower. So GameWith, after winning that 1v1 already under the shoulders of Shun, they see them heavily in the lead once again, getting that 1 tower plus a lot of damage to the King's Tower already.
Yeah, this has to be GameWith's last attack. There is no way you can get another Lava Hound that close to the tower within 13 seconds. I don't even think this one is going to get to the tower. There's the miner. He's throwing everything here, and I just don't think it's going to be enough.
Okay, the Tombstone just being there for desperation efforts, but the Golem hasn't been broken into stage 2 yet. Very, very close, but I gotta be honest here. Even if he knocked that first tower off, King's Tower was gonna go down eventually.
Yeah, it was in such, GameWith were in such bad shape after losing that tower. And they only lost that tower because it seemed they put a little bit too much elixir on the other side, while PONOS was still like, okay, we're just going down this side over and over and over again.
You just feel like you want to be reacted to the defensive efforts, but at the same time, when you have literally a billion cards on one side coming from your enemies, you want to throw out a similar effort on the other side just to counter for the trade in tower, but that wasn't the case. Just summoning a miner down the upper left flank was not the answer to go with for the Shun's teammates in GameWith, who do lose out the first match after him on an individual effort has pulled off a nice 2-0 victory to get his team ahead.
Yeah, I think Bandit would have been better than Miner at that point.
Okay.
In all honesty, I think a Miner goes right to the back, right? Misplaced, but it still has to go through the tower. I think if you had a Bandit there, it deals a little bit more damage instantly and makes people a little bit more worried than the Miner. You can leave a Miner, you know exactly how much damage it's going to do. But a Bandit, sometimes they can get an extra hit off if they're just lucky.
It really can, and it does hold up pretty well with a decent amount of HP with the Bandit. And we've seen it done before, startlingly a lot of people left and right, but the one that got startled this time around was GameWith after winning the 1v1 rather cleanly. They come here in 2v2, PONOS Sports showing what is up and has shown up to perform here in a very nice first win from these guys. That Golem Rush, compared to the Lava Hound, seemed a little more effective there.
Yeah, the Lava Hound just didn't quite do its job that game. So we're going into game number 2 now. Once again, Amaterasu and YUIHIIRO in the blue, tengod and mikan bouya in the red. I'm expecting much of the same, to be honest. But it seems I'm already wrong.
Very much an early start. Trying to go for the early chip damage.
That was a very aggressive start from GameWith. The miner straight away. Usually you want to try and keep that for a little bit later.
Double Mega Minions just to make sure that everything stays intact. The miner comes through once again.
I'm going to guess that's double miner for GameWith. We can't see the cards they have, but that looks like double miner.
That was a really quick rotation, so it's hard to assume, but going to get the Ice Spirit onto a bit of skeletons to do a little bit of damage. Is he going to get one rush in? Barely gets there, so P.E.K.K.A being summoned this time around is the choice coming in from GameWith with the Bass, trying to create some distraction.
Yeah, great P.E.K.K.A. P.E.K.K.A is such a good card because, oh, the Golem's gone down the other side though. We have the Inferno Dragon on the defense, but P.E.K.K.A would have been so much better there.
How much is he willing to trade on this one? Because P.E.K.K.A will not be there for a direct counter. The Inferno Dragon has been zapped off, but otherwise it's still not being compensated for. Yeah. Second one coming through, but it really is a very much a loss coming in for the side of GameWith. We're now suffering so much damage onto this left side here. Very much well covered for though, comparatively.
Great defense there from GameWith. Managed to withhold that super powerful Golem with the Tombstone. Just pulling away the Golem in time, basically. If it was a second later, we would have seen so much more damage onto that tower.
It's easy to get startled when you're the zap, trying to zap the Inferno Dragon to make sure it changes the target to the Mega Minion. It was kind of the intention there, driving the P.E.K.K.A on the right side. Didn't happen. It's easy to get started when things go wrong like that, but still very composed to keep the pressure on the left side. Let's see P.E.K.K.A versus Golem.
That's the perfect matchup. That's kind of what you want at this point, because P.E.K.K.A can deal so much damage to that golem.
He's going to have the help coming from the Inferno Dragon to help him out just a little bit here.
The Inferno Dragon actually targeted straight away at that golem, so that means this is over. That push just doesn't work.
Okay, but it's not going to be a lot of damage coming as of yet. Let's see the rocket.
Good rocket again, taking out the Mega Minion and dealing so much damage to that tower.
Okay. Still a lot of invested just to get the Mega Minion and a little bit of that turret, but let's see the Golem Rush once again.
Oh no, they put the Dark Prince in the wrong place. It went in front of the Golem instead of behind it. That's a mistake.
Left him behind. Oh, now you're going to just use the Prince to send as a cover, literally throwing away that Dark Prince without it doing much. Tombstone's going to be coming out to distract the Golem for the time being.
Good rocket.
Okay, the rocket's going to wipe out quite a bit.
The text over the middle made it so that I couldn't see if that rocket actually connected with the Golem, but it looks like it did, but this push is so strong.
The second push coming from the Golem does a little bit amount of damage, does explode.
That zap was so good, just at the right time before that Prince connected with the tower. There's a rocket.
Look at that. Just destroying the shield, obviously. It's not going to get to the Dark Prince anytime soon. Mega Minion is just there to finish it up before it makes a charge. Will it get the one charge, though? It does get one charge. So right side becomes a little more vulnerable than what it used to be. Poison coming in, was that an accident, do you think?
I think that's there to cover that middle section from anything that might go in there, but the miner!
Oh, look at the miner! What happened there all of a sudden?
Yeah, that miner just was in the perfect spot, and they used Zap to make sure that everything stopped attacking it. They just protected that miner with their lives, with that rocket that came in, taking out the Mega Minion, and they kept doing it. Every time the miner went in, Mega Minion summoned, rocket comes out next, making sure that that miner could do damage. It's not often we see chip damage in 2v2.
It really is, and P.E.K.K.A, it's seemingly more of a defensive strat more than anything against the Golem that was coming in. Obviously, it was summoned wrong on the right side from the beginning because the Golem was summoned a little bit later, just to check that the Golem was there. But the second time around, it kept summoning on the same side where the Golem has been initially summoned. We talk about the rockets though. First one going towards the Mega Minion hitting the turret, and second one just hitting the turret by itself without much casualty on the other side. We saw what that was all intended for, to summon the miner at the end with the poison on the middle of the ground, just to make sure the miner gets some free damage on, and that was good enough for now. And PONOS Esports, I think they're a little bit startled about what just happened there, because GameWith didn't seem like they had that in the bag. Seems like the turrets were vulnerable on both sides from the side of GameWith, but PONOS Esports could not finish off in time.
Yeah, it was very, very close up until that final push. Like, you couldn't tell who was going to go either way, and then suddenly GameWith just walked down that right-hand side, completely obliterate in that tower. And I'm just like, I wasn't expecting it. I was expecting a bit more back and forth, bit more chip damage from them. But instead, they just went all out, took it.
We have a lot of replays to look at once the games are going to be over with, because a lot of unexpected plays being happened here in this Japan region, where we've been getting a lot of entertaining games so far, from 1v1 now to 2v2. It's going to be the last game here to decide everything between these two teams. Whether GameWith can finish it all right here in this series, just winning out to 2v2 ought to do it. Or whether we're going to get to the set 3 if PONOS Esports to win out this one. This is the ace match.
Seems like GameWith are going for the same strategy as last time. And it looks like PONOS have gone with the same deck as well, with the Mega Minion coming out, but we can't really tell until we start seeing the Golems and the Princes come down.
Yeah, Mega Minion's a little more common, obviously. The Golem does come through, as you do say. Another Mega Minion being summoned, just to compensate for the Mega Minion coming in from the other side. P.E.K.K.A being there on the left, just to make sure it's there for the defense against the Golem, which has been very effective in that last match.
The Golem wasn't that effective in the last match due to this P.E.K.K.A and Inferno Golem, Inferno Dragon combo. And it looks like it's not going to... Oh, great lightning spell there. Okay. Obliterating that Inferno Dragon.
And the P.E.K.K.A has gone down significantly in damage as well. The HP going down for that P.E.K.K.A.
Such a big push, but well defended again there from GameWith. GameWith are really good at defending, and look at the miner on the top left-hand side.
Yeah, it does a lot of chip damage. That's what they've been all about, to defeat this Golem composition being formed by GameWith here.
Yeah, so both towers are roughly at the same, 1792 and 1743. feel like I'm getting an eye check right now. Like, the number seems so far away from me. But there's the... Oh, this time they've put it in the right position. The Golem and the Dark Prince, one behind the other. That's what you need when you start doing these Golem pushes.
I would imagine the P.E.K.K.A. would make its appearance very, very soon here. Infernal Dragon and the P.E.K.K.A. just being summoned on the front of the stage here to get the Golem nowhere inside before anything happens here. P.E.K.K.A.'s going to be stopped just for between here.
Quickly that Golem got cleaned up there. Such a good hard counter. And then if they have anything else...
Look at the Miner though being pushed. All the aggro has been onto that direction. Zap nicely done.
Yeah, the Zap there. MVP card, making sure that Inferno Dragon didn't target the tower, because if it did, it would have done insane amounts of damage.
It still does significant amount of damage through that push where it really worked out. You talk about the Golem being wiped out quite immediately, then you just suffer from such a loss of elixir that really didn't get you anything.
And the good thing is with GameWith, anything they have that survives the push, like survives defending this push, is just going to go forward and deal so much damage. Like the P.E.K.K.A. comes out, it's going to hit the tower, it kills the tower. Yeah. You have the Inferno Dragon, it connects with the tower is dead. Like, look at this push right now. Dark Prince, P.E.K.K.A., Mega Minion, Miner, Rocket. There is so much there.
I don't know if he can defend against this one. 779 with the poison being planted to wipe it out. The Golem's going to create a little bit of distraction, but I imagine this will be wiped out in a matter of time.
Yeah, P.E.K.K.A. getting 2 free hits there. He killed the first Golem, manages to do significant damage to the second Golem. That Golem's in such bad shape, I don't think it's even going to reach a tower at this point. But there's only 745 hit points on that tower left. Oh, these Golems are going to connect.
The first explosion happened, the second one also happened very soon. Can this Prince be compensated for? It's going to be get down from the Tombstone, but the 479, it's going to get down to 47.
There it goes.
That is going to be good enough. That was a very, very close one from both sides, but yeah, we got the indication that GameWith got the victory at the end. So them winning out 2v2, followed by the 1v1 previously. It's going to get them into a very nice victory for the very first series.
Yeah, GameWith showed today that they are going to be one of the strong teams in this league. Like, their play today was executed almost perfectly. Yes, they dropped one game, but every game they won in convincing fashion.
Definitely, with domination, kind of written under the line the way they GameWith kind of showed up to play today against PONOS Sports. Definitely no slouch with PONOS Sports in the way they tried to go with it, but we're going to try to go with this right here.
Oh, yeah. I just can't see many teams going against GameWith here.
Yeah.
Even in the Korean teams, the SEA teams, GameWith today showed that they are incredibly perfect in executing their plans.
And we do get to see them once later in the broadcast here with Match 3. We'll bring GameWith and FAV Gaming. Bob Gaming will be able to show us what they're made of in Game 2. Once they do make their play. But we finally do get to see the replays we've been waiting for here from the 2v2.
There's that P.E.K.K.A. and that P.E.K.K.A. is so good on the defense here.
Look at that, just being destroyed, carved one by one. Just cutting rocks here with a sword. Quite amazing there, and
there's the Miner go in the back and a Miner in the front. I didn't even notice they put a Miner in front and back of that tower. It just deals so much damage and takes aggression. And this, look, almost 3 free hits on that Golem there.
Yeah,
that is so useful for GameWith, and that's what helped them win. That little bit of extra damage from that P.E.K.K.A. allowed them to just push forward with no regard for their tower.
Let's look at the last bit of spells here, because I think it was a lot closer than what it initially seemed. You saw 2 explosions coming from the last bits of golems. Prince almost got a hit there, but the Tombstone coming through. See, the rocket came about. 346 was the remainder. So Lightning tried to finish, obviously, but it's a little bit difficult. But I think we're going to get onto an interview. I think we'll have a translator available to you guys, and you'll be able to take that away. We're going to go to the desk for the time being. I don't know if the translation's completely ready yet. But yeah, we're getting a sign that we're getting no audio from the Japanese broadcasting company. So I'm going to be a little bit of settling out just to make sure everything is all right and good to go before we head on. But, you know, basically, a lot to hear from Shun and the rest of this GameWith squad where, They showed us a very good performance from 1v1 down to 2v2. Just a lot more to expect them, and you'll always see them after the upcoming series that will come in the Thursday. They will be against FAV Gaming, which you'll see in the very one coming very soon here.
Yeah, I mean, does that put GameWith in kind of a bad situation that FAV Gaming have seen a lot of their decks and a lot of their strategies? Do you think that puts GameWith at a disadvantage here?
I think GameWith will be at the same situation there. They will be able to see the second series between FAV Gaming and Detonation Gaming. So similar information will be shared, obviously. So, if one team was the only one to look at the other team's strats and really not revealing their own, obviously your point would be correct on that. But we're going to see GameWith, PONOS Sport doing a very good job of trying to figure out what they were doing there. But the second match will bring us FAV Gaming for the very first time, which you will see again 2 series in a row. Going to go up against Detonation Gaming to see how they do here.
Yeah, actually, you know what? I'm going to take it back. I think GameWith are going to have an advantage in this.
Oh, what do you think there?
So before, if we're watching this game, GameWith versus PONOS Esports, right? FAV Gaming would be preparing for Detonation Gaming, right?
Okay.
So they might not be watching GameWith versus PONOS. But the next game, GameWith are just going to be sitting around doing just preparing for their game with FAV Gaming. So GameWith are going to be able to watch it. I think they have an advantage here.
If they knew that they were going to have that advantage, I think they might use that intelligence to maybe prepare and maybe have watched the first series. But everything is beyond us, Simon. We have no idea what's going on there backstage. We don't know what they're watching. I don't know if they're watching anime in backstage. Anything could be happening from right here.
They're too busy watching stuff, probably. Yeah, you're probably right.
Okay, we're going to go on to the commercial to see, what round 2 brings us between a lot of strong teams. We're going to be back with Clash Royale League Asia after a short commercial break, and we'll be right back with the second series.